News, Vera has been found guilty of murdering U.S. Marine Bryce Rudisell. We'll have the details. The motorcyclist killed in the crash on US 87 has been identified, and 80 dogs need to find homes. I'm James Bellini, and this is Live. We'll get to the news in a minute, but first, Lip Chip provides your barn with superior technology. Simply implant, scan, and unlock. Enjoy daily temperature checks, register for your next competition, and keep your Coggins and health certificates all in one easy place. Lip Chip is based right here in San Angelo and is built by a family of horsemen rooted in West Texas. Now, on to the news. Starting things off is the Vera murder trial. Vera was found guilty in all 3 counts, 1 count of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon last night. The jury in the Whiskey River Saloon murder case went into deliberations to decide the sentence Vera will receive at about 2:25 p.m. District Attorney John Best asked for the max sentence of life in prison. Vera faces 5 to 99 years for the murder charge and 2 to 20 years for each of the 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, a second-degree felony, as Vera badly injured Andrew Caldwell. Defense attorney Jason Sosa begged for mercy and argued that Vera was the enforcer for the motorcycle gang and was president of another. The Marines beat Vera and the motorcycle gang inside the bar before the fight was broken up. Best argued that the only way the bikers could win a fight was by a sneak attack from behind and by brandishing a knife. San Angelo Live does not currently have an estimate on when the jury will return from deliberations, and 51st District Judge Carmen Dusick has a reputation for finishing trials late into the evening if necessary. Did you know San Angelo Live has the best mobile app ever? It's on the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store, so if you're an iPhone or Android user, you can have all the latest news stories sent directly to your phone, so download it today. While we're on the subject of motorcycles, the Texas Department of Public Safety has identified the motorcyclist killed in the crash at Broadnax Lane and US 87 towards Wall, Texas. 45-year-old Nicholas Denmar Johnson of Aurora, Colorado was pronounced dead at the scene of the crash by Tom Green County Justice of the Peace Susan Warner. According to the DPS, the motorcyclist was driving behind a 2005 Freightliner towing a semi-trailer. Johnson failed to control his speed and crashed into the semi-trailer from behind as the truck driver slowed to turn off the highway onto Broadnax Lane. The driver of the truck, 58-year-old Olgario Valdez of San Angelo, was uninjured. The skies at the time of the crash were partly cloudy, but the roadways were dry. Contra Valley Paws needs help managing about 80 dogs taken from a single property. Paws said in the statement, "We must refrain from judgment because our first interactions with the owners have indicated this was not a cruelty situation, but rather a situation of good intentions that has gotten out of control. The owners, who ensured the dogs were cared for and fed, have acknowledged their inability to continue managing the physical and financial demands of such a large number of animals and also realize they need to rehome the dogs. Contra Valley Paws urges individuals become short-term fosters for the dogs to help care as arrangements are made. Donations are always welcome and can be made directly to Paws at cvpaws.com/give. Now into weather. Right now it's 72 degrees out and the low tonight drops to 43 with clear skies, but it will be windy. Go figure. Tomorrow the high jumps to 79 and it will be sunny out, and then Thursday night brings a low of 51 and mostly clear conditions. Friday the breeze picks up, as does the temperature, with a high of 85, and Friday night the low will be 57. It'll also be mostly cloudy out and windy. The weekend looks like the highs climb again with a high of 87 on Saturday and 93 on Sunday. When we come back, sports analyst Ryan Chadwick was at Jacob Castro's signing last night, and we have an exclusive interview with the soccer player. Then, Police Chief Candidate Travis Griffith stops by the San Angelo Live forward operating base for an on-location interview. But first, a word from the Bass Bunch.
2024 means savings galore at Jim Bass Nissan. Why not drive off our lot in a new 2024 Nissan Frontier, priced right at just $33,999. While you're here, be sure to ask about 2.9% APR financing. This truck offers a mid-size truck with full-size truck capabilities. Hurry, these are limited offers, and you can only get these deals at Jim Bass Nissan at the corner of Houston Hart at Arden Road, or shop 24/7 at bassbunch.com.
It was an exciting night on Tuesday night as one of the Central Bobcats soccer players signed to play at the next level. Jacob Castro, Central's midfielder this year and a senior, signed with Hardin Simmons to go play soccer next year for the Cowboys. Now, I spoke to Jacob just prior to his signing on Tuesday night, and just to hear what his feelings were about his commemorative day. Let's take a look. I'm here with Jacob Castro, senior at San Angelo Central, signing to play soccer at the next level with Hardin Simmons here tonight. Jacob, how you feeling?
Pretty good, excited.
Glad to hear it, man. Now, as a midfielder for Central, you were one of the leaders on this team this year, obviously. Wish we could have gotten past that first round, but have been a part of this Central program for a while, and Central's kind of seen a turnaround in the last couple of years. What has it meant to you playing for Coach Vu and the Bobcats?
I mean, it grew me up as a person, you know. I got a lot of my confidence playing with it, along with a couple of my teammates here, and really brought me to the spot where I'm at today.
And why Hardin Simmons?
I picked Hardin Simmons because I felt like that was the best fit for me, and it's close to home, and it gives me the opportunity to play at the next level.
And that's great too, right? It's like it was the same when I was playing. I'm like, what school's gonna offer, you know? And what do you think you can bring to that team? Like, what do you think you're best at on the soccer field?
Definitely my defensive mindset and distributing the ball out to the forwards or to anyone really on the field. Definitely the defensive mindset.
So basically, you don't really care if you score, but as long as you get an assist here or there, or like you keep them from scoring, you're happy.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, my last question here for you here is just going to be more of a fun one. When you were younger, why did you start playing soccer, and what's your favorite part about it?
It was definitely because my dad. He coached me since I was 3 years old, and then it's been coaching me since then. So definitely because my dad.
And do you have a favorite part about soccer?
Definitely traveling with teammates, and then just traveling to the new cities and new soccer complexes.
All right, awesome, man. Well, again, this is Jacob Castro, Central Bobcats midfielder, signing today to play at the next level at Hardin Simmons next season. Thank you. Thanks, Jacob, for taking the time, and congratulations on the big achievement. It's always a huge deal when our local student athletes from the Concho Valley sign to play at these colleges, and we all wish you the best of luck in the future. And, of course, for more sports around the Concho Valley and beyond, be sure to check in every day at sanangelolive.com/news/sports.
Gross. Deep down, your rugs are dirtier than they look. Carpet Tech safely cleans all types of rugs, killing germs and removing spots and odors. Right now, get 15% off rug cleaning from Carpet Tech. Call or schedule online at carpettech.com.
If your home is in a red, call Carpet Tech, yeah.
Well, hello, welcome back. My name is Joe Hyde. I'm with San Angelo Live, and to my right, to your left, is Sergeant Travis Griffith. The way you remember his name now, I found out, is just like Andy Griffith, right?
Andy Griffith, but newer, right? Yeah.
Anyway, Travis Griffith is running for police chief. We have 3 candidates. The election is on May 4th. I don't even remember. I think early voting starts April 22nd.
April 22nd, yes.
April 22nd. It's starting to ingrain in my mind.
From 8 to 5 at the Keys building.
And the chief of police position, San Angelo is the only town in Texas, only city in Texas that elects its police chief, which I think is still a good thing. And you threw your hat in the ring.
Yes, sir.
And well, how's it going?
I think it's going great. I love San Angelo. I love it. It's a great community, and the more you can get out there and see the people, the better it is. And the campaign trail, if you will. Never thought I would be a politician. I don't even like saying that out loud, but I do like getting out there and meeting the folks and hearing what their issues are and what the things that they're facing and what we can do to be better.
So what are their issues? What do you think the number one issue is? I mean, knocking on doors, going to having meet and greets and that kind of thing.
Sure, I think I think the big thing is that people, they feel like when they'll get a report from the San Angelo Police Department, but they don't feel like they get a follow-up, and they don't get anything that comes back to them to
So
say,
you mean
hey,
like someone calls in and says someone stole a laptop out of my pickup in the driveway?
Right.
They file the report, and they feel like it goes in a black hole.
Right. I think just better communication could help out there. We're going to investigate, and we currently do a great job investigating. It's just when you don't have a lead, you don't have anything to do, then they're trying to get back to those cases that are more viable. And I think if we can find a method to be able to communicate that to them and maybe check in, because sometimes in those cases you'll find that people have maybe a new information that didn't get reported. So
there might be some software attached to the software that you use to enter it in that can give public access. I mean, with the old system, I can't remember the names of these systems, but the old system they had back in 2013, 2014 actually had calls for service on it.
Yeah, and we could bring that back and have call for service back on public as well, and I think that'd be good transparency.
Well, they said it was, back then they took it away, and they said, well, I think it was a software glitch, so the reason they took it away, but then they never really fought to bring it back because they said that it was a safety issue for officers.
Can be, depending on what the calls are and where they're at. If you have a major incident going on, you get a lot of people there, it's not what you really want on a scene, but there should be a way that you'd be able to take out the calls of specialty natures of sexual assaults and things like that you wouldn't want on there.
Yeah, or domestic violence.
Depending on, I think people might want to know.
We actually pull off on domestic violence unless it's really violent.
Right.
Usually it's a shouting match.
Can be.
You've been to more than I have, but I've been to a few of them.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think that's really, you don't need to put that in the public. I mean, a man and a woman are having a fight, they're having a fight.
Right.
If it doesn't escalate to something more, like where bodily harm or death is involved, I really don't think it's newsworthy.
Yeah, we go to a lot of disturbances more than domestic assault.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what else? I mean, the thing I get is when people complain about the police department, it's exactly what you said, kind of, sort of. But when they see rising incidences of petty type crimes,
property crimes.
Property crimes primarily, or vagrants trespassing,
sure,
a lot of homelessness, that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of homelessness, we did this thing out here on 14th Street.
Yes, sir.
We invaded the homeless camp. Why can't they shut that down?
They're working through that right now. It's already gone through the courts, and the city is making a plan to be able to give those individuals that are out there a location to kind of work and go to. So that way you're not just moving one issue to another.
Yeah.
And so I think that here in the next couple weeks we should have a solution to be able to see where that's going to land.
Because it seems like that's just a breeding ground for all kinds of problems.
So as a whole, I mean, we haven't had any emergency shelters or shelters of any kinds for homeless in San Angelo for like almost 6 years now.
Yeah.
The Salvation Army's just getting back on its feet, and a shout out to them for getting back over here and getting going. So they do have it in emergency situations. They're struggling to see if they can get for the hot weather that's coming.
Right.
I know that we have the Oasis, which is an option during that time frame, but as we're preparing to get to winter, there needs to be a long-term plan. There's been some places like Lubbock have made huge headways as a city and as a community to be able to stem the major issues that come along with those that are in the homeless world. And so the main thing is we want to try to, as a community, try to find a way that we can get them out of chronic homelessness.
I don't think you can ever solve it. I don't think
it's an individual case. Yeah, it's an individual case. Some people do.
I think you can solve it one person at a time.
Exactly.
You're not going to solve the problem.
No.
Going to have it.
I mean, that's the depravity that is man.
Yeah. All right. So,
a lot of settings.
What are you doing right now? What's your job title, I guess?
Patrol supervisor. Yes, sir.
Okay, so kind of explain to people what a patrol supervisor does.
Yeah, I have about 7 guys assigned to me right now, and we work on a evening shift where we are responsible for the day-to-day operations of that shift. There's, on any given day, there'll be a lieutenant on the majority of the time. Mm-hmm. I'd say probably 80% of the time. So
are you assigned to multiple districts, one district, one sector?
As a patrol sergeant, you're open to the whole city. And sometimes it's with your partner sergeant if he's working that day. And you just kind of answer the calls as they go through in regards to...
You don't divide the city in half and say,
sir.
I'll take things on the west side, you take the east side?
No, sir.
Notice how I avoided north-south side. Anyway.
Yeah, you can do either way. Yeah.
But as far as policing goes, you've been here how long?
I've been here going a little over 15 years.
Okay, so you've been here a long time.
Yes, sir.
Trends. What are you seeing trends as far as crime goes?
Well, at the end of the day, you always have people that are going to have property crimes, and no matter what society you're in, it's driven mainly by narcotics. Though I mean, narcotics is, a lot of data will show that narcotics is about 2/3. There's a nexus to all crime to 2/3.
2/3 of all crimes are caused by addiction.
Has a nexus to that. So, I mean, we have to be real about that. So, and we're seeing prices of narcotics cheaper than I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So that's a trend.
That's not so much a trend as there's an open border that our federal government's just kind of left for us to deal with.
And so because it's cheaper, more people are getting addicted.
You're talking about over 8 million people now that they know have come in the last 4 years almost, and that's what they know of. So when they're arresting actual leaders of the cartel on this side of the border, I mean, we know that there's the pipelines are there. And when we're seeing the level of narcotics that we're seeing, we have to be real that we're going to have to really step up our game to be able to enforce that. And anytime you have a higher narcotics level, you're going to have higher property crimes.
Because someone gets they're addicted, they get desperate, they go steal to get their narcotics.
Oh yeah, I mean it's connected to, and even the domestics you were talking about. I mean, when it can be chemical addiction, could be anything from cocaine to methamphetamine to alcohol, right? And so when we're dealing with this as a community, we have to understand that the more that we can try to find a community approach and still be tough on crime, we don't move away from that. Our job is not to decide the punishment, but we're going to still go out there and enforce to every level we can. If we're enforcing, which we've done a great job, right? So you have supply and demand, right? And because that supply line is open right now, we're seeing more drugs in the community.
You're not getting any help from the DEA in interdiction. Really.
No. So it's us locally, and I think that if we can partner with our sheriff's department and maybe our DPS and state police, right, to be able to come together to create a task force, then
they're not doing that right now.
No, sir.
No.
And so we work as partners, right, but we're not working as a task force. So we could move as a task force to that direction to be able to come together to enforce on the supply side, and then the demand side is the part that law enforcement has never really messed with. We've always just kind of, that's their decision, what they've made, and they need to be held account to it.
All right. So what year did you graduate from high school?
2000.
2000.
Sure.
So in 2000 at your high school, how many people do you think were using drugs in your high school?
I have no idea.
I mean, give me a guess.
I mean, I can just tell you from the time frame of 16 to 19. I won't just use high school. I use 16 to 19. That most of the time it was just low quality marijuana that you would even hear about.
Yeah.
But
so
at that time you would see my early stages in the law enforcement where you would see Nazi meth, which was made from anhydrous and a bunch of chemicals.
Is that the stuff they made in trailers?
Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And so the quality.
That was the Breaking Bad days.
Well, that was the bad Nazi meth cooks that would blow up in trailers and stuff like that. It was terrible for people.
Today in Central High School or Lakeview High School, for example.
Yes, sir.
What do you think the percentage of drug use is now?
I mean,
you think it's greater or less?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely greater.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what type is it mostly? I mean, we've kind of destigmatized marijuana. And I know that because when we use an official DEA term in our news stories and call it the devil's lettuce, guys, it's an official DEA term. We have the list of all the slang you can call marijuana. But we destigmatize it to the point that they get mad at us for using a funny name for it. Now people almost worship this stuff. It's organic, it makes me more healthy, it calms my nerves. Parents are probably using it too.
Yeah.
So there's more widespread acceptance of it, and one of the things, and we talked about this in the debate, that like your opponent Mike Hernandez definitively views marijuana as a gateway drug to harder stuff.
I mean that's proven though. I mean we know that, we've all said that. I mean that you don't want to alcohol. Heck, vapes and marijuana are all something that you start with at a young age. But I think that we can all get behind the fact that we are, as a people, we're broken, right? We want to try to fill these spots inside of us. That ultimately, my belief is, from my relationship with the Lord, is that's what we're trying to kind of fill those areas, right? And sommes your last
not allow
guest.
them to hurt as bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe you've been hurt, right? Kind of like your last guest that was on. Is that we have all these hang-ups and hurts and things that get us, and then when we throw that in the mix of societies, which is more what you're touching on there, the societal views, that we still have to deal with as a community, the fact that we're not doing much as a government to help stem the usage side, right? So the people that are actively addicted to chemical substances. And so if we can start spending an extra few minutes, there's software out there that can connect the nonprofit world to those that are like in ADAC and those that are in different faith-based programs, right, that can help people get out of chemical dependencies.
Right.
We can connect those people. There was a lady I stopped the other day, and she was very obviously using methamphetamine, right? I was able to talk to her about it.
How can you tell?
So anytime you're spending a stimulant, right, you start going through your conversations and what you look at. I mean, we go through specialized training for when you deal with DWIs.
Is she like jerky?
Oh yeah, they're fidgety. I mean, they're constantly
kind of like me right now.
They're constantly jumping from one point to the next, right? But it's very obvious, right? So
are they paranoid? I've noticed they're paranoid.
The more that you abuse a substance, the more they can become. Yes, sir.
I mean, I've had people call me about a news story that are obviously on meth, and they're telling me about people in their attic, that kind of thing.
Yes, sir.
And the police won't come do anything about it. Well, you probably won't because you know the guy's an addict, you know what's going on. But
I think that at the core of it, though, is that with that young lady is that the more that you can look at usage of methamphetamine or any heavy substance between a scale of 1 to 10, right? On that scale of 1 being the first time that you're actively addicted to methamphetamine, right? And then a 10 being whether you're in prison or dead.
Right.
The sooner that as you can stop them getting all the way to number 9 or even to number 10, right? The sooner that we stop property crime, the sooner that we get that person back into society and start having them be a productive member, that almost the vast majority of everybody that struggles with that type of addiction, right, will go back out there and help other people that struggle with addiction to get them out.
Right.
And so the more that we can, as a department, look at different ways we do that. And there's a software out there called Unitas that for just a few extra bit of time that we can connect those individuals to the nonprofit world and start working to get them sooner to getting them to some help that will start steering away from that.
You hear the debate, there's always the tension between treatment and drug enforcement. I want to make it illegal. No, I want to treat the people.
We can do both. We can walk and chew gum. And when I say that, doesn't mean that we're soft on crime. That means we're gonna fight crime, and we're gonna do it the way we're supposed to. Drugs are terrible, and we should find a place that we can get to a point where if you've exhausted all the leads throughout the criminal justice system, then maybe prison is where you might find the rock bottom where you change. I've known many people that have done that.
In national news coverage, you hear politicians all the time talking about fentanyl. And
Yes, sir.
105,000 people died last year of fentanyl overdose.
Yes, sir.
When you're patrolling, what the heck does fentanyl look like?
Well, fentanyl is usually mixed in with other things. I mean, we're not just seeing loose fentanyl, right? Sometimes it's mixed with
You don't take a
cocaine.
fentanyl pill?
No, I mean, I don't.
I mean,
what you're asking.
I mean, a drug addict.
No, so it comes in all shapes and sizes, but every drug, I don't want to just focus on fentanyl. I want to be able to look at the totality of what we're seeing right now is you can buy meth that's as cheap as $30 a gram. That's crazy.
And how much is a gram? Like, show your hand.
I mean, like so.
It's about like that.
Yeah, roughly so.
Okay.
And so that's super low because we're flooded, right? We're flooded. The market's flooded, and so.
Are they mixing fentanyl with the meth?
Yeah, they cut it with meth. I mean, each person's gonna be different. Fentanyl's also dangerous at any high levels, right? So they don't want to have overdoses.
It just sounds crazy that you're trusting some, worker in Mexico at a meth lab to cut the right amount of fentanyl, because you have too much, you're going to die.
It beats trusting the guy that used to be in the Hydrus and Drano and all this stuff back in the 2000s, right? It's not a good thing to do. We don't want to see those things happen. And the main thing I think we can get to is we can start showing people that there's another way. Over 2 decades of law enforcement that I've gone through, and time again, I see people that have been able to make it out. Usually it's through the Lord, right? And that's key, right? But there's other programs out there that work, and I think that if we can get those folks to these programs and start deterring that usage side. So we make a task force on one side, right?
Right.
And we're working with our local law enforcement, our state police to stem that supply side.
So
what's on the demand side?
Let's stop for a second. This is the supply side, the task force.
Yes, sir.
What does the task force look like? How much does it cost? Where do we get the money?
Well, let's come back to that. We'll come back to that in 1 second.
Right.
So when it comes to the usage side, right? That side of
that's the Unitas thing.
That's the demand side. Well, that's one aspect to it.
Yeah.
getting into the high schools and start working with ADAC and getting curriculum and teaching how dangerous drugs are, vaping is, how much THCs in some of these vapes is super dangerous, right? Start talking about the dangers of cocaine and how you can go from one place to the next. And I think that's where we partner with some of these folks that have been there, done it, that have gotten out of addiction and proven themselves to be out of addiction, that can come into high school students and have relevance. There's a guy that I used to chase around as a gang member. I spent 5 years on the gang unit here, and he got saved, changed his life, and for the last 6 years been 100% a different person. He wants to help reach the youth. Partnering with him, bring him into talking to a youth that's the first time they've ever been in trouble or something. Right. That's how you're going to change hearts and minds, right? To deter them, because they won't listen to me as a cop. They won't listen to parents usually because they're trying to separate. Okay. They don't even listen to most teachers. But you bring in somebody that's relevant to them, they can come in and say, life's hard enough. Don't make it harder by doing this like I did.
Let's go back. The enforcement side, task force. How do you put it together? What's the cost? What does it look like?
Well, and now whole picture. So if we have a task force on one side, and we've worked in our high schools, we've worked with building relationships, and we've worked with our nonprofit world, and we're actively trying to stem the
Are you going to put them all under the same type of program?
In what program?
This task force enforcement.
Yep.
You're going to tie it all together somehow?
Yeah, we're getting there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so as you come back to that, all the community aspect of those that are in the sober living, right? That if we can see a 20% reduction over the next year and a half of us actively trying to get them connected to where they need to be, because that's what Unitas does, is it starts the caseworkers, but we're not the caseworker. Does that make sense? It's just starting it to get them to where they need to be so they can be in contact with them. And one cool thing you would like on the domestics and arguments, what you were talking about, right? How a lot of people want to argue. The vast majority of arguments are started in a couple's relationship over what?
Booze.
The booze might be pretty high. Money, right?
Money.
Finances.
Yeah, you're right.
Arguing about money. And so if we're on a domestic and we find that there's no assault, and we find out that they're arguing over money because they're about to become homeless, well, we can put them in that same Unitas program to connect them with the Concho Valley Community Action Agency, or get them with the city that has homeless prevention funds, right? They can start to try to connect these spots, because we're the face of government. We see these issues. If we can just take a few extra moments, get the information where it needs to be, then we can slow that. But as a whole, imagine if we see a 20% reduction on the usage side through our school programs, through the programs that connect them to the nonprofits, and then we see a 20% reduction in the area of enforcement, then overall we're seeing a 40% reduction as a community in regards to narcotics-related crimes. Now, we can put the cart before the horse as much as we can when it comes to how that works, right? Ultimately, you need, for the enforcement side, what you were pushing on there, is it's going to take, first off, having a conversation with the Sheriff's Department and the state police and see what their resources are and what they'd be willing to do. And then as you work through that, as the next police chief, right, works through that and says, hey, this is what we're going to envision. It's
going to take a leader in local government. It could be the police chief, it could be the county judge, it could be the sheriff, to actually find out where the resources are and try to gather them. Because we're going to, I would think something like this needs a lot of grant money.
Not necessarily. You're looking at two major law enforcement agencies between the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department that you could look at that and just having a conversation saying, hey, what kind of resource can we get? Because it's not like we're moving it away from the San Angelo Police Department. What you're doing is you're taking siloed work inside the narcotics world of San Angelo Police Department. You're taking the Sheriff's Department and you're taking that work that's going to continue to be done out there. It's opening the
You're opening the silo. You're opening the silos.
So we know what each one's doing, that we're working there on the same mission points. And ultimately, that's going to be something that you'd have to.
How would you measure this? You gave me the 40% reduction. So how do you have like some kind of thing in your head of how you would measure how we're doing? You put this thing together, how do you measure?
You have crime data points. You have people right now. There's more people dying in the sober living community than they've seen in many
When you
years,
say the sober living community,
those that have recovered or those that are in recovery. Right?
And they're dying because they're relapsing.
Yeah, they're losing that battle with that narcotic, whatever it might be. And again, when you have a flooded market and you have price points that are the way that is, then it takes a strong leader to step up and say, hey, we're going to have to do something different, right?
Right.
And I think that working with our local, because I guarantee you, if you come in with a straightforward plan to say, hey, we're open to the conversation with the sheriff's department, I bet you money they'll be open to it. Work with the local state police captain in this region, because they have CID, right, that works that. Let's see what we can do. Let's get the conversation started. And ultimately, this is not reinventing the wheel. This happens all across the state of Texas. We can make it happen, and we can work on what it's going to take to get that funded.
Right.
So.
All right. So let's talk a little bit of campaign politics.
Sure.
All right.
That's
so
it is the season.
'Tis the season of campaign politics. Obviously, you look at the campaign finance report. You're the underdog. Wouldn't you say you're the underdog?
I think it's what you do with what you got, sir.
Okay. But seriously,
if you're talking about straight numbers to numbers, right?
Numbers to numbers, you're the underdog.
Not super far off. I'm not gonna lie. So I mean, the cutoff was supposed to be the 25th. If you look at the cutoff on the 25th from some of the other competitors, not that far off.
Okay, so I think it was 38. You have 38,000. Hernandez had 60-something thousand. So you're a little bit behind, but it's not.
We paid. I don't know what their situation is, but it's just like running a business, right? We paid our bills. We're up to date on stuff.
Yeah.
We
all
have
right.
our stuff out
So
there.
you raised some secret money afterwards.
Not secret money. It's after the 25th was the cutoff for the finance report.
Right.
We had a fundraiser on the 28th.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So your strategy's been signs.
Yeah, no, we've been blessed with signs. That was an in-kind donation that came through on the bases, and we had.
You mean David Nolan gave you all his bases?
He let me borrow them. Yes, sir.
Did he?
Yeah.
He wouldn't let me borrow them. I tried to borrow them. He wanted me to pay him $15,000.
While we're on that topic, I'll tell you that David wasn't something that he just came to. I mean, I had a lot of conversations with him, and he wasn't something that he just came out and sold. He evaluated the candidates and talked to each other, and there was something that started with a few, and then now here we are.
There you go. Okay. So, how many signs you got out there?
We have a decent amount, yes, sir. Yeah.
Secret number?
Well, I don't want to. I'm gonna have the numbers right in front of me, but it's a decent amount.
Well, local elections, the sign war is always a big point of discussion. But,
I never really knew that was going to be a thing. What we did is we've had a lot of people that just came out and wanted to support us, and I appreciate that very much. Like means
I've
the
seen
world
4x4s in people's front yards.
Yeah, so the law changed on that. Yeah, and so you can have a bigger sign on your yard. There was a Supreme Court ruling on that, on when the time frame they could go out, and what's the size of sign and number of signs.
Yeah.
Because before there was a very restricted thing. It came off of a Ron Paul sign back in 2012, and that worked its way through the courts. And rightfully so. I mean, I'll stand with people's property rights and right for the wind to blow.
The wind is blowing. I hope it's not picking these mics up and y'all can't hear anything. All right, what is the next thing, the next big thing for the campaign? What's the next in-person event you're going to be doing?
Yeah, so we have an event that's coming up on Thursday, at the old Knights of Columbus building out here, and
up on North Bryant.
It's a meet and greet there. We have a Home Builders Association's coming up on not this Thursday but next.
So that'll be all three candidates.
Yeah, that's a forum. Yeah, I believe we have on the 22nd. We'll be having one with KLST as a debate.
Yeah, don't be telling people that.
I'm sorry. And you said you wanted to talk about the free press.
Yeah. I'm the paid press here. Anyway.
And then my understanding is it's in the works for the Chamber of Commerce has reached out and wanted to do a debate. I have not got a.
You haven't heard anything
date.
back from them.
Have not heard a date or anything else on that.
It's really hard to put those debates together.
Oh, it's hard to go to them, as you would know.
Yes, unless especially when you feel like you're restrained. When I was doing those debates as a candidate, I felt so restrained and I hated the 2-minute time clock.
Right.
I hated that.
Yeah, your time frames are different, and I give anybody props that's ever run for office, because putting yourself out there is super difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I think.
And everyone criticizes you, and it's always the people closest to you that hurts the most. You're like, you should have said this. I'm like, oh, right. Yeah.
And it's different until you get up there, and I just want to say that the success that we've seen, I give all the glory to the Lord on that. I mean, this to be where we're at. You classified us as an underdog. If we are an underdog, then. We've come a long ways, and we're doing really well in the campaign.
Well, I mean, you are the underdog. I've been there too. I've gone up against the good old boys. I mean, they're formidable.
I just want to say that without my relationship with the Lord, without my team behind me, then we wouldn't be here.
All right, last thing.
Yes, sir.
Have you given up on the Citizens Advisory Committee proposal yet?
I never will.
Okay, so I'm going to explain how this works.
Okay.
Travis and I are good friends.
Oh, wait. Are we explaining
I'm
how
going to
the
explain my
advisory
point.
works?
I'm going to explain my point.
Okay.
So he proposes at the Tea Party forum that he's going to have this X amount of member advisory board member. So I'm just looking at it from an operational standpoint because I'm a business guy. And I know how hard it is to keep things going. And I just threw it out there. I said, that's just a bunch of hogwash. You're going to have one meeting, you're going to forget about the Citizens Advisory Board. So you proposed to have some type of board of, I don't know if it's a board or a council or it can't be a commission, but of people who would advise you as chief on how to manage the police department, so to speak.
I mean, let's put it this way. Let's not use your words.
I love my words.
let's use
my
words, right?
All right.
So at the end of the day, if I'm elected as chief of police, right?
Right.
The part of accountability, one of the pillars of what we're standing on, right, is that I would be accountable to the public, right? Mm-hmm. And so having any direct line of communication with the public is key. I don't think that the public should have to come to you as the police department to fix the issues. I think we should be actively finding the issues in our community and being proactive in it. And so one way of doing that is not having a commission, not having a subcommittee, not having any oversight groups of any type. We're going to have the ability for individuals from all walks of life to come into San Angelo once a month and hear an update on the status of what the crime is, what are we doing about that crime, hear if there's any issues from them that they're having, right? So like, let's say that we're there, we can ask them, hey, what kind of problems are you having? So
you've evolved. You've evolved it a little bit. I mean, that's okay.
No, it's not evolved. It's what it's been since day one. Yeah.
Oh, you evolved it.
No.
It was like a membership thing before. Now it's like you're going to have a meeting and anyone can show up.
I know we've said a group of, and we've said since day one, because I told them, I said, I don't want this to be some sort of a subcommittee. I mean, that falls into a whole lot of rules and stuff. I think we're already there as the chief being elected, being that different from the rest of the state. So we can have this.
So you're proposing that you'd have like coffee with the chief kind of thing.
No, so we're going to have an actual meeting that we can bring in people from all different walks of life and be open to those that want to come.
So it'd be different people each meeting?
I'd like to move it, yes, sir. I don't want to just be one spot and one deal, but move it around throughout the community.
So kind of like forums?
Ultimately, not quite forum-like, but we're gonna have a structured meeting, you know?
Yeah.
So, and again, because that's giving the ability to update them. There's plenty of people that want to know what's happening. Maybe a great place to ask folks about some issues like, hey, what do you think about license plate readers at major intersections? Right?
No.
How do you feel about that?
No.
What if that is?
Don't want them.
Well, and I'll say that there's plenty of people that are interested in it, and I would be one to have the conversation if we're keeping that local. I don't want them dumped into federal systems or state systems.
Well, I don't know. I feel like anything that automates law enforcement at that level, I don't know. It's like the level where you need to be touching the citizens. Like, for example, I mean, I know that it's not the same thing, but, stoplight cameras,
Yeah, that doesn't work in
or
Texas.
or the automated speed trap things that we're going to put in school zones. There was a company that was proposing to do that about 10 years ago here.
And thankfully on the enforcement side, the state of Texas came down and said that you can't do that here.
Okay, right? So this is not really a formal group of 9 people on a committee.
No. This is a large group of people that we're rotating around that we're going to invite people from all sorts of places. Right?
And you might create a new group based on what the needs are.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm going to be rigid on my plans. Anything can happen based off of what would it be. We're going to have some form of open line of communication. We're going to the public.
Well, the city council, each city council member used to have, I guess some of them still do, they have town hall meetings. Why not just do that?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind partnering with them and inviting them to those districts. Especially if we rotated off of the districts that are the city council districts. Yeah, I wouldn't.
Or just go to the city council's town hall meetings and make a presentation there.
Well, I think that would be a great way for the police to come in and update those city council members on what's happening in their districts, right? And then also be able to meet with their constituents and be able to do that in a way that the police department has a big voice and people want to be able to come and meet and hear more and be more involved. Getting the Citizen Police Academy back up and going would be a great idea. Doing a Citizens Police Academy in the high school, I think would be a great way where you can start teaching kids on how to, what to do with first encounters with law enforcement, stuff like that.
Well, also, I support Blue Santa because I think it's important for kids to not be afraid of cops.
Right, and I think if we can get back to having consistent school resource officers in every high school and work through that until we get the staffing where we can fill it in.
If you talk to Frank Carter today, he's our current police chief of police. I have. I mean, I talked to him a little bit. His biggest fear right now is something happening in one of our schools.
Right.
I mean, that keeps him up at night. And when you talk to him and say, what really keeps you up at night, Frank Carter, he'll say something happened in our school district.
And I think we have to be more intentional about that. I think that, for a long time, we kind of worked on the structure where we have a different officer just about every day in every campus, right? Because that's a off-duty job for those officers.
Right, and they get paid extra money.
I want to make that a permanent assignment.
Right.
Which is not an unheard of thing, right? The school district is not interested in starting a police department, so let's work with the school district and start getting them to set aside some funds, and we'll start a division, and through attrition and through time, we can fill that to where 5 years from now we can actually have the same person at every school. That builds that relationship.
My initial thought on a separate police force for school district versus expanding the role of the police force that's already here, already has admin, already has the cars, already has the equipment.
Yes, sir.
It'd be a great savings to the taxpayer for the school district not to have to pay for its own police
100%.
force.
And I think you have more checks and balances, and you'll have better communication. The issues with Uvalde, where we're all in the same channel, we're all in the same page.
I mean, that's a small
training.
town. Uvalde, compared to San Angelo, Uvalde is very small. It's like 30,000 people, something like that. And they had their own ISD police force, and that was a point of weakness, I think.
I think that anytime we can get the same consistent person, they're building relationships with the students to show them good, positive encounters with law enforcement, then we're building a better tomorrow for our community.
All right.
So we got to get there.
Well, we probably extended this too much. I hope you guys stayed on. This has been an interesting talk.
It's been a good talk.
Yeah.
Good talk.
But anyway, Travis Griffith, he's running for San Angelo Chief of Police. May 4th is election day. Early voting starts April 22nd. Did I get all that right?
That is all correct, and you can vote from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. on early voting.
On early voting, and then
7 to 7 at all the other polling locations.
Well, thank you for coming on our show today.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate it. Back to you guys.
It's hard to believe how reckless some people can be and how hard they fight against real victims. You need a partner who consistently beats the giants and who will never, ever flinch.
When it comes to unique pieces you can't find anywhere else, Kano's Diamonds and Coins is your one-stop shop. With over 24 years in the diamond and coin industry, Kano's Diamonds and Coins is West Texas's choice for diamonds, jewelry, coins, silver, and gold. Owner Bill Kano stands by his work and offers free consultations, including estate jewelry. Don't just trust anyone with your valuables. Come see the staff at Kano's at 1016 West Beauregard in San Angelo.
Thanks for watching the Live Daily News Show, the only locally owned live news show in the Concho Valley. Thanks for making San Angelo Live the go-to place for all the news. Go like us on social media platforms like Facebook, X, and anything else you can think of for our exclusive rodeo coverage only on San Angelo Live. Thanks again, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.